that you could do. If I believe that I can feel you by my side, I'll make it through the night. If I believe that time will teach me how to find my way, if I believe that broken hearts grow stronger every day, if I believe that now you're dancing across the sky, I just might get by. 'Cause I lost my way when I lost you. Now I'm wondering what I'm gonna do. Help me be strong, 'cause it all feels so wrong without you now. Won't you help me through somehow? Get me through somehow. If I believe that in my dreams I'll always feel your touch, if I believe that memories won't always hurt this much, if I believe that I will see your face again, I can wait till then. If I believe I'll hold you in my arms again, I can wait. I know that I can wait. I can wait till then. I can wait till then. Ooh,
Good evening. Welcome to the Somerville Overcome an Addiction Show. My name is Joanne,
Hi, I'm Judy.
and we have a special guest tonight, although we've seen you several times. But this is going to be a very special show because Bob finally had us come to the courts to see the program that you helped develop, which is a mental health court and also the homeless court. So we'd love to have you talk about that besides other things.
Okay. Well, basically, Judge Roanne Schrager, who I've worked with for the past 25 years, I don't want to say that aloud with her here, she'll get mad. But some of the courts had a pilot program, West Roxbury, Plymouth. I can't think of the other courts. They set up a mental health court. So we went to West Roxbury, we watched it for a day, and the judge was real interested. We came back and we spoke, and we put our thinking caps together, and she decided that she wanted to get involved and start a mental health court. But she didn't want to name it the mental health court. She wanted to be sensitive to the people with mental illness. So she decided to call it the recovery session. And we brought in a clinician, Marie. She's been with us since day one. Cambridge Police were on board because they have officers assigned specifically dealing with mental health and the homeless people in the city. And we couldn't do it without Marion Ryan, the district attorney. She was actually a catalyst too, because any of these offenses in court, without the district attorney's approval, you can't have like a specialty court, which it's been assigned to. You couldn't do it without the district attorney. So once the team got assembled, we started having initial meetings. We started targeting people that we knew suffered underlying mental health issues. We separated them out of the main session and we put them in a specific session exclusive to probationers and/or any offenders who suffered from mental health. We've been doing it roughly over 2 years now, and I think only out of about roughly 40 participants, only 2 have reoffended and committed new crimes. So it's been pretty successful. We have nurses involved. We have Rosie's Place. We have 240 Albany Street. Actually, we have the mass defenders. I can't leave them out. Public defenders, they're involved. And we get together weekly. We collaborate on these cases. We get our clinician, Marie, who's terrific, has a master's degree in social work, and she's a licensed social worker. She deals with each client during the week. She'll update me on what they're doing or what they're not doing. On every Friday morning at 9 o'clock, we have a staffing, and we'll discuss each participant, and we'll just see how they're performing, whether they're in treatment, whether they're taking their medication, what they're doing in terms of if they're involved with VinFin, DMH. We have outside nurses who come in. Some of our participants, a lot of people who suffer from mental illness don't want to take their medicine. So we have nurses come in and, administer the medication to make sure they're taking it. And it makes a difference because once they come off the medication, then it's off to the races, and they start decompensating, and they start, falling off the wagon and getting into trouble again. So, when I started as a probation officer 30-something years ago, the mentally ill weren't given these opportunities. We have a core clinic, but they would always determine, yeah, they're mentally ill, but they're competent today. So more than likely they get a period of probation, and a lot of these clients are unable to comply with anything because they're not on medication. They won't stay on medication. So they're gonna be non-compliant, which means a surrender. You bring them back before the court, and if the judge violates them, they're looking at incarceration. And a lot of times, the mentally ill, they don't have the wherewithal to comply because of their illness, and they're self-medicating with either alcohol and drugs, and it's like a vicious circle. So the courts at that time weren't sympathetic or empathetic, and because they were overloaded with addicts and the mentally ill, the easiest thing, and I'm not condoning this, but the easiest thing to do was to put them in jail, which was unfortunate because you're not treating the underlying symptom or illness. And I think the courts are starting to smarten up, and they get this now because more and more courts are having these specialty courts for mental health, drugs, and homeless, and it's working.
Now, is there another judge that does the drug court?
Judge Schrago does. She does them all.
Oh, she does them all. Now, when is the drug court?
Drug court is on Wednesday. But I have to say, Cambridge only has roughly 6 participants now. We're seeing a decline. We're seeing a decline in drug offenders in Cambridge. It's not because people aren't doing drugs in Cambridge, Arlington, Belmont, but a lot of these addicts aren't opting for drug court because it's real stringent. It's not easy.
I'm gonna raise my hand.
Yeah.
So I
feel like I'm in class here.
I think a lot of the problem is that a lot of the people, that have the issues are in state. They're in Woburn. You don't see them.
Yeah.
They go from here to there, and that's where a huge problem is in Woburn Superior Court with just these people that you're talking about.
The HIT program.
If they initiated what you do, my God, the people that they could help, because you're basically people that are just haven't spent any time in jail. They're just not even recycled. Actually, I feel bad. I'm so sorry that I said that. Yeah, but
we're all recycled.
But I mean, like my child doesn't get the help from the Somerville Police Department. He wouldn't be able to get the help from you because he's out of your hands. he is now in Superior Court. Every time he could get caught shoplifting, he's not going to see you. He's going to go to Superior Court. And I think that that's where, I think everybody should do what you guys do. And I mean like everybody, and I don't know why they're waiting.
Yeah,
sh-
we
it
are
should-
trying
I
to
am
get-
like so
Yeah, it should be,
impressed, so
because-
impressed on what you guys do.
I'll make this analogy. When you're a probation officer, you're doing a lot of tasks. Like when you go to the doctor, your general practitioner, he doesn't know all the symptoms and what other issues you may have. That's why he sends you out to a specialist.
Yes.
I think you need to specialize now, these courts. So I think you need to train POs to be mental health POs, drug POs, homeless. And I think once you separate that out, and I think if the trial court in its infinite wisdom gets it and mandates it in every court.
Why can't we adopt you in Somerville?
I live in Somerville.
I know, but why
Right.
couldn't we adopt you to go in and help the Somerville courts get it together, because they're not.
Well, let me just say this to you. Every court has their own fiefdom,
Yeah.
and it's the judge that really rules the roost. And in Somerville, the judge is not too reticent on having specialty courts. And it's up to the
But you would think he would be,
presiding
because it would
judge.
be like less of a burden on him. Like, oh, McWatters, you again? He doesn't have to say that. He can say, McWatters, we're going to send him there. Bye. Never see you again.
You have to have an interest, and I don't know
Yeah.
what his interests are. And
But who votes a judge in? Do the people vote judges
you have to
now?
go through a process. First of all, you have to apply. Then you go through a judicial nominating committee. If you get through that, first of all, then you're nominated by the governor, and then you go before the governor's council.
So how do
think
you
that's
voice? How do you
exactly-
voice, an opinion of that you want him to do this, whether or not he wants to do this, or maybe he should have some.
You could there's a specialty judge for the district courts you can contact. I think she actually just retired. But the trial court, judges have bosses too. They'll oversee them, and you can speak to their bosses and make a suggestion
Right.
that they consider bringing in these specialty courts. They really should. I mean, every district court and every superior court should have a specialty
So
court.
now, if you want to help people like in the Superior, because, that's where I just find like I spent so much time there, and how do you go about voicing your opinion there? You would also do that?
Superior Court's a little bit different
Right.
because the judges are only assigned there 6 months. I think it would be more the probation department. And actually in Superior Court,
Well, that's what
there's
I mean.
a gentleman I grew up with
Yeah.
who's a Superior Court PO, Paul Cashman.
Right,
It-
and he's an outstanding man.
He'd be a good contact. He's an
Right.
assistant chief,
Right.
and I think that's one of the mechanisms to try to.
Because I mean, I went through the whole probation with Superior Court. Shameful. It was completely shameful, and in the very end, it was like, I'm sorry I made it personal. I just walked away like, you don't even know what you have done
No.
to our lives. The insensitivity, I tried to give them a card of somebody that would help them if somebody came in and stuff.
They didn't want to hear it.
That's what he did. He went just like, no, he wasn't taking the card. Was not interested.
You remember we had a Moore meeting at the Lions Club on New Washington Street, and we brought in that Superior Court
Probation
probation
officer.
they call it the HEAT program.
Yes,
And,
up
and
in Woburn.
Yeah.
but who else was there was who just retired.
Mr. Ward.
No, he just retired, a probation officer in Somerville.
Or Richie Antonelli.
Yes,
Yes.
Antonelli, and he said that we didn't need a drug court at that point, and I refused to believe
And it was
that
crazy
that's
too
true.
because it was like, there's okay, so now I think it's really funny how people do this. So they're the probation officer. They're also in charge of the meeting. That's mandatory, but really not. It's like jury duty. You don't have to go, and if you don't go, you're gonna get arrested.
You get warrants.
Okay, so it's kind of like that. So he's a judge, he's a jury, and if he don't like you, and then there was somebody also in the audience, and he called him, what did he call him? The infiltrator. So I got up, I walked to Hess, because that's how long it took me to stop swearing, and walked all the way back and came and sat down.
I'm so proud of her.
I was like, oh my God. He actually sits in these meetings and friends these people and goes back and says, yeah, we don't like that one. We're not gonna like that one either.
No.
And
That's unprofessional.
And my son fell under that category. And it was from there on in. There was nothing that he could do. He was on a probation from when he was, I think, 17 for a fight. And every time it would just get tagged on. And get tagged on and get tagged on. He got tested positive for Suboxone that he told them he's trying to get on a Suboxone clinic. He didn't have a note, a letter, bought it off the street. That'll get high. Put him in Bill Ricker for 6 months. We fought it. Do you know what that judge said? See you later, Mr. Walker. You have a really nice life. And Jimmy sat in the hallway for quite a long time. He was afraid to walk out the door. He thought it was like, make pretend. But it was like, he was hostage.
That's been the mentality, unfortunately. We had it in district court.
And if he had you guys, he would have been.
Yeah, we've transformed.
flourishing.
It's more transformative now. We see that if you don't treat them right now on probation, in lieu of if they don't, if you incarcerate them, they're going to come back with the same issue. So it's going to be a revolving door. So we've made a concerted effort to say, look, there are issues here: mental health, drug. They're homeless for a reason. 90% of homeless people suffer from drug addiction, alcohol, and mental health issues.
Right.
So if you don't treat them, they're going to be in and out of the system.
My sister-in-law was a paranoid schizophrenic. I know exactly.
Yeah. How long did it take you did you have to, when you first, started the journey on the thought of having recovery court, did it take you a long time to get it together, or did it just fall into place?
Kind of fell into place because we had the right pieces. You had the judge that was willing, the probation department that was willing. We had the Cambridge police, we had the DA, we had the public defenders.
And that impressed me, that gentleman that was from the Cambridge police, that he was,
the Sergeant Borgiano.
He knew every single one of them. And what I liked about it is that somebody was like, oh, I don't think they're doing it. He's like, oh, no,
right.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And I was like, kudos to you, because now we got somebody to stick up for our kids.
All right, we'll have to explain that. Homeless court, they actually don't go to the courthouse because they don't have a lot of transportation.
They go to them.
Right, so you go to the church in Harvard Square. I don't remember.
Yeah, part of the problem is, let me just give you a little background. The Cambridge District Court got closed roughly 10 years ago because it was unhealthy. So they temporarily assigned us to the building in Medford, which is out of our jurisdiction.
Right.
It's made it really difficult for a lot of defendants to get there. Public transportation's not easy getting there.
Yeah.
So when the court decided to do when the judge decided to do the homeless court, she figured she'd bring it right into Harvard Square. Initially it was at the Salvation Army in Central Square, but they're renovating their building. So we went into another church in Harvard Square. So we're going right on their territory where it's easier for them to get there.
And it's right on the trains.
So we're trying to help them, and we're trying to work with them.
No, and I thought it was remarkable to sit there while there were 15 people around that table discussing each one of the clients that were going to be going into that class.
I was
classroom.
Right.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Into the
Courtroom.
courtroom.
I was impressed that you guys had a housing person from housing there.
Yep. Well, that's the key, because if
And
you
I'm
get
like,
them
oh
off
my
the
God,
street,
they're like, boom, why is he, I was just like,
see, it all falls in place. If you get them
Yeah,
on
it really
in housing,
does.
if you get them diagnosed with whatever illness, treatment, housing, and stabilize them, you won't see them in the court anymore. So
do you help people Section 35?
yes,
Okay. So you could start right from there.
yes. But the problem is now the law has changed. You can be in there anywhere from 30 to 90 days. Usually it's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Once they
that's
get
sad.
bounced, you kind of lose them, unless they have a criminal offense pending.
Okay.
If a family comes in and the judge grants it, more than likely you're not going to see that individual again unless they've committed a criminal offense or the family's back for another 35.
So my Frankie asked me to section him. So I did go down to the Somerville courthouse and spoke to the clinician.
You were a
at the time.
petitioner, yep.
And he was one of the first people that went to the Brockton Men's
Yep.
Facility. And,
Patsy.
you know, he asked me to help him because he knew that his insurance company was not going to hold him that long. But the one thing that they did say is, you know, it depends on when they go. You may think that they're going to be there for 30 days, but they can go in, and the physician that's there may deem that
12 days.
they don't need
It's
30
all
days.
insurance driven, unfortunately. Once they stabilize you, detox you, and you're fine, they
I
bounce
tell
you.
everybody, I don't understand why no one goes after the insurance companies. They should open up the board, straight across the board, and allow these people to have the treatment that they need.
With corporations and insurance companies in charge now, unfortunately, we've lost our moral compass in this country.
Yeah.
Nursing homes are being run by corporations. It's not
Yeah.
about patient care, it's about bottom line. It's the same thing with insurance.
Yeah,
And once, especially if you're on public assistance, mass health,
right.
once you're stabilized, you're bounced.
Yes.
But didn't the bill go through for 14 days?
Yes.
Right, it's only in Massachusetts
Right.
that the
Yeah,
insurance
but
companies
if
have to
someone
pay.
in there sees that you don't need that,
The 14 days, you're gone.
you're out.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
You
they-
can stay up to 90, which you
Yeah.
should, but they're not doing
No,
it.
they're not gonna let you do that. They bounce you, and then doing like some of the mother groups and stuff. Surfing that a lot of people are complaining that they're now throwing you out for like smoking a cigarette, swearing in like excessively or something, or
I'd be
not.
thrown out of the country for that.
I
We
wouldn't
also
even
have
get in
other
the
special.
door.
We have other specialty courts too. Not only these three, we have parenting. We have a mothers and fathers group that we run twice a year.
Really?
And we have a Changing Lives Through Literature, where we bring in some of the young offenders, and they get to read different books.
Is that where the
and,
journal came in?
no.
Okay.
Rashad's an avid reader, and
Okay.
he likes to write.
Yeah.
But if you want to come into the Changing Lives to Literature, I recommend that. It's a 6-week program. Come in and join it, watch it. That's pretty nice too.
Well, we'll have to sit down and
So
talk
it's
about
I'll be
like-
retired by then.
So it's
though.
almost like you're finding someone special. Like they're special inside. They're a special thing that makes them feel good about themselves. And bring it up.
But we're all
I
special.
was.
We all are.
We must have talked for days. Days after Monday. Days. We were
I
just
knew
like,
you'd like that.
We couldn't
Friday
believe.
and Monday.
I just.
Because everyone should be treated with respect and dignity,
Yeah.
even if you're in the court system. Now think about it. Someone who's mentally ill, anyone normal who has to come in the system is going to be anxious and nervous. But can you imagine what a person who suffers from mental illness,
Sure.
the anxiety they must go
The
through?
sweat that comes off your
Yeah.
body. Yeah, it's amazing.
So now we've made it impersonal. We've
But
separated it
yet,
out.
and also, and what's so sad is that people are like, "Oh, they're high," and I'm like, "No, you're not. It's not.
Mhm.
That there is something wrong with them."
Yeah, a lot of people try to.
And how kind it is to think that you guys actually took the time, the effort to go out of the box. Because I mean, face it, that anything political, anything judicial, or whatever, is run a certain way, and that's not.
It is thinking out of the box.
You
It's
guys were
something.
thinking hugely. I mean, like you went through a porthole.
Yeah, because we
something.
didn't know if it was going to work, if it was going to be a failure, a success. So far, it's been a major success. So
And
we're
I
pretty
like the
pleased.
fact that you give them a diploma.
We do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We validate them. We make
There
them
were
feel
two people
special.
that-
Yeah,
Oh,
They got a diploma
yeah,
that
they
day.
did from graduating.
okay. I'm like, where was I? I was
And
sitting
you can
next to
see
you.
the
How
look
could I-
from my vantage point. You can see the look on their faces. They're getting validated. They know they're coming off probation, and they know they succeeded, which is the
Yeah.
important thing.
Oh, there
You
was
know,
a young lady there. I guess she kept asking and showing, oh, you gotta read this, gotta read this. She goes, I will inside, I will inside.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, give it to me.
Yeah.
And she read it. She was like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. And that girl, she was beaming. You could feel it from behind.
Yep.
That she was actually beaming about herself.
Because
and
how many
good-
years have they been unaccepted?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
probably
that
their
when
whole
you
lives they've been ostracized
Right, because I mean,
and
she
criticized. and
she looked like she's been
So
through some
you-
tough
when you-
times.
a lot of these people don't feel good about themselves,
No.
so they find ways of making them feel better by using drugs or
Yep.
drinking, whatever they
Yeah.
can do to validate or make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
And,
See, and I have,
Kudos to you
I
guys,
have
man. I'm like so happy.
family members who suffer mental health, so I was
Yeah.
kind of, a soft spot in my heart. My
Right.
father was depressed,
Yeah.
and I got other family members who suffer bipolar. So, and I see they self-medicate, they drink,
Right.
they're not on their medication. So I see how if you put structure in place, you have people validating you and encouraging you, it works.
If you
not
guys
judging.
right,
Not
if
judging.
you guys were around when my son, his friends, Frank, everybody, I don't think half of the stuff would have happened because they were just basically, they didn't go through
Right.
they didn't get waiting for them just to do something big just to get rid of them.
Well, it's like Frankie had the
And-
injury.
And then almost all
So when he
gone.
had the injury, he was on 10 years of medication.
Right.
Self-medicating himself. And the thing is that he felt badly about that. He didn't go out. He wasn't with the other people. He would stay home because he knew what people were saying about him and that he was addicted. So he had his own stigma. He didn't need anybody else's. And he had to deal with that. And a lot of people loved Frankie. Frankie was a great person. Was running for, he worked for the post office,
Mhm.
and he was running for union, to be a union rep. And then one person turned around and said, who would actually vote in someone that's addicted to drugs? And he felt really bad about that. And he was trying to take care of himself. He was trying to, I don't know how many times I put him into rehab, and then he'd be thrown out because he already had his quota of insurance. So that's when we did do the section 35.
The money
It's money
that,
driven.
we had a woman on
Yeah, Nadia.
Nadia Kramer. Her deductible was like $5,000 every single time, and she would go in, they would pay, she would somehow or another get tossed out or leave. They'd do another and another and another down the month. I'm like, blood drain you dry. I'm just.
See, insurance companies and corporations, I think, they get it backwards because they lose a lot of productivity from their workers because of alcohol and drugs. If you treat the addiction and try to work with your employee, you'll get and try to get them off alcohol and drugs.
Right.
They're going to produce more for your company or your corporation,
Yeah.
but they turn a blind eye to that. And they're not
Right.
doing it. There's so much. Corporations and businesses lose so much money every year because of employees calling in sick, being hungover or drug addicted, whatever it is.
Right.
And it's caused because of substance abuse, a lot of it.
And it's good too that you like to have these guys practice abstinence,
Yes.
no drugs,
None.
because I know that that's how Matt Gammon rolls. Nothing. Nope.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. So
And so don't pick up Bobby and Ken.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
cacas, we call them the cacas.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
the
Bobby
trend
and Ken
is, and
are
if I can morph into the legalization of marijuana, I think that's a slippery slope. I think it's dangerous, especially and I mean, we hear different figures all the time. You have roughly 100 Americans dying every day from drug overdoses. Why would you want to legalize another drug that's mind-altering? It blows my mind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Send
You're just
fuel
going
to
to
the
cause
fire.
more problems, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to get on a plane with a pilot smoking marijuana. I wouldn't want to be on a train. I wouldn't want a
Right.
doctor who has just smoked a joint operating on me.
That's
Or,
true.
you know,
Right.
I'm sure it's not going to happen, but we keep sliding and sliding. Everyone thinks marijuana is fine. You know, it's like, oh, it's not any worse than alcohol. They're both bad. If you don't use anything in moderation, food, alcohol, the drugs, you're going to get addicted, sex, whatever it may be. And I think today, marijuana is a lot more potent than when and I'm not going to sit here and
I'll
lie and
tell
say
you,
I haven't
24
smoked it. I have.
24% higher
Yes.
THC level right
THC,
now.
and it's a mind-altering drug. I'm in the minority. A lot of my friends kind of laugh at me and they, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, yeah, well, I do, because I deal with addicts every day.
Right.
And the one thing I say is, why don't you come to court for a week and see those poor young men and women who are drug sick in custody and their parents are in the front row crying.
Right.
Now, they didn't start with heroin, I know that, or the pills. It started somewhere. It started with drinking and it started with smoking pot. I can't tell you, I don't have hard facts on statistics.
Right.
Alcohol and marijuana, in my opinion, are gateway drugs.
Yeah.
I get ridiculed and laughed at all the time.
No.
But my experience is seeing it in the system. Everyone who smokes pot doesn't do heroin, but everyone who does heroin has smoked pot. So do the math.
No, I believe in medical marijuana if it's someone's actual recovery.
I do
I
too.
would rather have someone smoke marijuana than do Suboxone,
Yes,
methadone, Vivitrol. I don't know.
as long
the
as it's controlled.
right.
But here's the problem I see. I have a lot of young probationers, young men, who have medical marijuana cards for anxiety. My question to the doctor is, why aren't you writing a prescription for the gym, exercise? Studies show, and I have it here, studies show long-term use of marijuana causes anxiety. So why would you give them a prescription for marijuana when it causes the symptom you already have?
But would be more interested in these people that come to you that have the medical marijuana card. Are they still getting the medication for anxiety through the physician?
Yes.
All right. See, that's what I mean. So I would feel that if they had that medical marijuana card, there is no need for you to have that prescription of Neurontin, or what they call gabapentins now, or anything like that.
If you're anxious, now we all suffer anxiety, all of us at some point. You got to get to the root of the problem. Medication's not going to cure it. No. Klonopin, Xanax, marijuana, it may be a stopgap temporarily, but you got to get to the root of the problem. Right. And believe me, I'm not a clinician or an expert, but long-term use of any drug, you're going to get addicted to.
Right.
Now, marijuana is different because you can't get addicted to it, but you can. It can become a disorder where you may need psychological treatment at some point to get off it. So my thing is, why are doctors prescribing marijuana for anxiety, and they just keep prescribing it, instead of getting to the root of the problem? Fix the problem instead of just putting a Band-Aid over it.
Right. Talk to somebody, find out what's going on.
There are reasons
But you
why
know
you're
something,
anxious.
Mr. McWatters, people don't communicate.
Absolutely, you're right.
They don't communicate anymore. Everybody's afraid. Yeah.
That's how they communicate.
Yeah, I know. I see that
on
every
smartphones.
day.
It was crazy. It's like the summer so far has been so quiet. School starts from, I'm going to say, 7:30 till about 8 o'clock. All kinds of kids everywhere. From, like, say, 2:35 to 3. They're everywhere again. Then they're nowhere.
Yep.
You could hear a pin drop outside now. Little Jim, I drove him out. We have this thing, he's going crazy with the Xbox, Jimmy Walker, you better not be on the Xbox.
Yeah. He's probably on it with Mason because Mason's always on.
And so if he does 2 hours on, he has to go out and he runs. He'll run around the block, play basketball.
Good.
He has to do something to offset that because if
they
you do
can't
not
be
tell
on.
them to leave, he could be on there from 8 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, grouping 12 other young kids that are also in the house.
Come on.
That whole
Haven't
time.
you ever gone, like, not too long ago, I had to go on the bus. I didn't
That's an
even know how much it
experience.
cost. But here I am.
You gotta learn.
I went to Mass General to visit my sister-in-law, and I was on the other side going home.
I would have taken pictures of
To
that.
Somerville.
Julian on
And,
the bus.
yeah. Well, I was actually the train.
Okay.
And then I'm
Right.
looking
Well, that's
across
a big
the way,
difference.
and there are 8 people on the other side,
All on
and
the
no one
phones.
is talking to each other. They're all on the phone, or they're texting, or
Yeah.
whatever. It was so amazing that no one talks to each other anymore.
Yeah.
Do you remember that time that you and I went to recovery coach classes in Boston? Judy and I are there on the bus every day, and we would talk to everybody, and no one talked to us.
Nobody would
I
talk
thought you
to
were
us.
crazy.
Yeah, they were
Yeah,
like,
they did. They thought we were
had one
crazy.
person actually get up and move somewhere else because I wouldn't stop. I was relentless.
Oh, you
so,
should
yeah.
know. You were saying, "Hi, how are you today?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute,
So
we're
I
not
was like,
used to
oh,
this
so
kind
we
of
did-
behavior.
Yeah, sorry.
Mm.
So we did tests. Like, okay, we're gonna walk down the street. Let's see how many people say hi. Okay, go. So we start walking. We're like, hey, hi, hi.
Nobody
Oh,
would talk.
well,
You
it's
look
friendly
right after
today.
them. You're like, hi,
Right.
and they're like,
You must
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
You must be
They
high.
probably.
It's
I
a
didn't
different
even think of
world
that.
today. It's a totally different
It
world.
really is. And
Even when we were doing, we'd go out one Sunday a month, and the time that we did it, it was so much snow out there. You and I
Oh
were
my
going over
God,
piles
we
of
were
snow
falling down and
with
everything.
hope bags, and we were giving
Yeah.
people food and clothes.
We
and
walked so far that the bags got really way too heavy.
we
Yeah.
went from Government Center all the way down to the Boston Medical Center.
And,
Wow.
and
And we
poor
walked that.
Matt and Jesse ended up carrying our bags.
It's nice to be
And-
old.
Yeah, but you're trying to help people.
Yeah, right. But you know something that's
But
so
we were
crazy?
told not to talk to them, don't bother
Oh,
them.
yeah.
If they're inside their little tents, don't just
Yeah.
leave the bag there.
But I'll tell you, the bunch of most gratefulest people that I have met. I've given a lot of things to a lot of people, and you get, hey, thank you. These people, like, they want to hug you. They were like, thank you. One man said to me, I don't mean to see, like, he's like, I can't see. I can't see anything. So I'm like, well, next Sunday I come, I'll get some glasses. So I went to the dollar store, and I bought a whole bunch of, like, the reading glasses, and girls ones, boys ones, and I gave it to him. And I said, you could give them out to other people, because he said there's a lot of people that we just can't see anything. So I was like, yeah, that was like a score, you know? Yeah, that made me feel really good. Every single time I come home, I would take off like the 9 layers of clothing because it was so flipping cold outside. I would cry while my body was burning because we were so cold outside. And I had a warm house, and it's a very depressing work to just keep getting constantly beat down and helping, and it's not only people in general population that has stigma amongst us, it's us ourselves with each other. Well, I lost this, and well, I lost that, and this is more important, and that's more important. Well, how come you have this, and how come I have that? It's just like,
What do I always say? We all matter. It doesn't matter.
yes,
We all matter.
stop
Yeah,
it.
so every
Yeah.
group should
Yeah.
is not better than anybody
No.
else.
No, and then dragging our heads, because we're like, oh, let's go to this drug court. Give us something to do. Okay. Boom.
Made you did.
Boom. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
One thing about us is that when I'm down, she's up, or when she's down,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
up. So together we pick each other up.
But
and
and one thing too is that we say, I say what I want. They say it. Marvel, you have no strings on me, right? And
I do.
And I was completely impressed with you guys. And then when we came, then we were so impressed. And when we came, Joey was like, "Come on, we'll do the Monday one." I'm like,
The
"Yeah,
homeless court, yeah.
we'll do the homeless court." To hear you guys all talk individually as professionals, as humans, on top of that, I'm talking about each and every single person, right down to having somebody there for housing, having somebody there that's in the street all the time that sees them, to the lawyer, to the counselors, to the nurse, to the judge, to both of you.
We're all with a positive attitude. That's what I really
and
love.
then I'm thinking it's over, and then you're like, no, it hasn't even started. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
and
that's
they're like,
staffing.
yeah. So now we go into another room, and now the people actually come in, and it was so crazy because it's like I knew them. When they came in, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is that, you know. I'm like, okay, and then to see how I couldn't believe there was a gentleman there that was that had a professional. She was a
pilot?
professional pilot. And there he was, homeless in Harvard Square in Cambridge. And you know what?
There you go, why, by the
Do you know
grace of
what
God,
was
it can happen
said?
to any
What
of
was
us,
said was-
unfortunately.
She said, how does this happen? We need to help him. We need to get him back to where he was before. We need to find out what happened. Who says that?
Judge.
Who
Trago.
says that?
Judge
No one
Trago.
says that. No one says that. And I'm like, my God, she said that.
I had a psychiatrist on probation for drunk driving,
Yeah.
and when he first sat down, he was so nervous. He goes, I got to tell you, I almost thought I was contemplating suicide. I said, doctor, just sit there. I'm going to be on medication, and I'm going to drive you right through this whole process. Just relax. I'll take care of it. I said, this is what you have to do, A, B, and C. You don't have to report. You report by mail. You'll come in one more time to see me in 3 months so I can make sure you're in the program, complying.
Right.
And he was so now here's a psychiatrist who's trained to help people with mental illness, and here I am, not even trained. I'm trying to help him.
Because you're human.
So he came back and he said to me, I want to thank you. You were compassionate. I was real nervous, and you helped me through the
Nice.
process.
Right.
Can
Well,
you
I
imagine
told him,
how
I
many
said, I'm going to be
people
your
you help?
Klonopin for the day.
You're going to be your Klonopin.
Well, just think, most people they're not feeling good about themselves anyway.
No.
So
Well, these people are physically.
Right. No, it's worse.
These people are physically wounded, mentally wounded.
They're wounded ducks all around.
Yeah, I mean, all around.
But you have to admit, though, in any business, when people get used to, they categorize people.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
what I hate to see.
Stigmatized them.
Right.
Stigma.
When I first got hired, my boss at the time, and God rest his soul, he's deceased, he made a great point. He said, hey, kid, the only difference between you and your client is the length of that desk. So I went home and I thought about it. I said, he's right. There you go. I could be on that other side of the
That's
desk
right,
anytime.
just like that.
He was right. Basically, he was saying, they're human like you, treat them with dignity and help them.
So you had a lot of people that guided you
I had a
to
lot of
become
guys.
the
Yes.
probation officer that you
Yes.
ended up being.
Well, I don't want to tell many stories out of school here, but my father was on probation.
Yeah.
That's how I sort of got into it.
Yeah.
When I was in college, he said, what do you
I
want
heard
to do?
you were a tough cookie too.
Well, I'm fair. But
Oh,
if,
is that the word?
I'm fair. No, but
Yes.
if you screw up, then you got
Yeah.
then I don't have any you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
'cause I
I'll give
wouldn't
you a
wanna
lot.
get in trouble with you.
I give you a lot of rope, but if once it gets then
Give you enough
but I
rope
do
to
have
get
a
in
hang
you
yourself.
do have a responsibility to the community.
Yes, right.
Now, I'll do everything I can to help someone, but if they if they snub their nose at the conditions in the court, then I mean, it's your responsibility to bring them back to
Right.
the judge. It's very rare, and anytime I hold someone on a probation detainer, it's very rare, but if it is, the person deserved it. And the attorneys and the judges know that because I'm very
Right,
fair.
because you're very fair.
But don't take my kindness as weakness either.
Right.
No.
Because, there are consequences. If someone's not complying, then you got to bring them back, and then, the judge and the lawyers will meet it out, and they'll make a determination what
Right.
sanctions are that have to be.
And that's
rendered.
hard too, because then how do you distinguish that it's the fact that it's not that they want to not want to comply but can't.
Right. Right. So that's why we separate out
Yeah.
the people that are mentally ill, the
Right,
drug
'cause
addicts.
like we had that young gentleman. It was kind of like that. You know, at first he come in all kind of hard guy. We're not doing this. You break, come back. How can I help you? What can I do for
Yeah,
you?
you need structure. Like some
And-
courts, the
right,
specialty
and that
courts,
he didn't.
like, I don't know, I don't want to name the courts, but they'll tell the defendant, yeah, here's a program, go sign up.
Yeah.
Now, an addict's not going to do that.
Right.
You got to kind of
They're
guide
not.
them, give them the structure, because if you tell an addict to go do something, they're going to say, okay, and they're not
Do
going
you
to
know
do
what
it.
they do is when they're walking out the door, that's in the
They laugh, they throw the
There you
paper
go.
away, yeah.
Only because you know why? And it's not anything disrespectful, it's an insult to them. That their life is not worth someone sitting down and helping them like you guys do.
But I have to say, my whole career, I would always give a choice to my clients, mostly men, not the women. You're either going to jail or you're going to a program. You make the choice.
Right.
Most of them would want to go to a program. I would help them.
Yeah.
Before the specialty courts came in, I would say, look, I don't want to put you in jail because we're not treating the underlying issue you have.
Right.
You need help. Go get help.
Right.
So that's why I think when Union Square is built, we need to have a drop-in center.
Absolutely.
And when we have that drop-in
Yeah.
center, we can help them find the services that they need. We also can have people show them how to open up bank accounts, how to, all those years that they had issues with their addiction, they didn't learn to do a lot of these things.
They don't even know how to sew.
No, I can't.
You can't?
That's okay.
I was raised by
Should
my
have to
Irish
do- I
grandmother.
could-
She did everything for
yeah,
me.
you know, it's so sad. This little Jim, he did something and he was like, oh, you guys think you can help me tie this? And the kid goes, because I don't know how to tie my shoes. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know how to tie shoes? He's like, Nanny, you never taught me how to tie my shoes. It was Velcro, all the slip-ons. No,
Definitely.
they don't even have
Right.
laces anymore. I'm like, oh, so I taught him just like that, but I was like, can you believe me? I never taught him how to tie his shoes. I was like, oh my God.
Shame on you.
Like, it never even dawned on me.
I was a 13-year-old kid. I went to high school in Boston, Catholic high school. I had to take the bus from Cumberland
Don
Farms.
Bosco's?
Yeah, Don Bosco. Take the bus from Cumberland Farms to Leechmere, then to Boylston. Try that at 13 years old. You're
Yeah.
not seeing many kids do that now.
No.
To tell you the truth, it's pretty difficult to get
I'm
on
like,
those
you-
trains today
I
because
know.
I see a lot of people
I'm like
that are.
A lot of
wondering
mentally ill.
what side of Broadway.
A lot of people.
No, I would
Yeah.
sit there and I'd be. One summer I worked at Moore, and so I would take the train in all the time. And I told Judy one day I'd come out. They had scaffolding over the building across the way, and there was a young man hanging from the scaffolding with his hands just like, and his head down, and his feet just dangling with no socks on and everything. And I'm watching all these people walk
No one
by,
even-
but
oblivious.
nobody stopped.
Oblivious.
And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So then I looked down the street and I saw a police car. So I ran to the police car, there's nobody in there. Then I saw this gentleman in a uniform and I kind of like insulted him because he was transit police. I said, oh, you can't help me, when he could have helped me. I know, it was really bad.
Stigma.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. So finally,
Judgment.
yes. So I went around the corner, and the police officer was coming out of a jewelry store, and I said, "There's a young man up there hanging from the scaffold, and I'm really concerned about him. Is there any way you can call 911?" He says, "We already did." So they're on their way.
But they
He
just,
didn't care.
but they left him there and went into the jewelry store. And they came back
So
out.
I went downstairs, and I was really, really concerned about, really, did they do something about it? So I ended up getting on the wrong train. So I was going to Roxbury instead of Somerville. So I turned around and was waiting for the train to go back home. And I called up, and I called 911 because, you know, that goes to state police and whatnot. And they assured me that he was being transported as I was speaking to them. So
'Cause you
no
have
one will
to-
walk by
No,
him.
well,
no
you know
one
the
did
problem
anything.
is in
Because you have to
society.
think that somebody's child.
Yeah.
You know?
In society, drug addicts, mentally ill, and the homeless are ostracized and looked at as scumbags.
Yeah.
They're not.
They're
They're
not.
someone's mother, someone's sister, someone's brother,
Right.
someone's son.
Yeah.
And it's sad when I,
It is
in my
sad.
travels, I have a condo up in Portland, Maine that I just bought a couple of years ago. If I told you the homeless part, it makes me almost cry because there's so many young people
Right, and they're
that
out
are
in-
homeless.
And they're out in the
And I
woods
can't-
and stuff out there.
I
right?
can't fathom sleeping. I couldn't do one night outside. I don't know how these poor people do it.
Especially in Maine.
In
it's
Maine,
cold.
cold. They have a real they have a major homeless population.
When we went out one night, we met a couple, and they wouldn't separate. We could have gotten them into a shelter, but they would not separate. They had frostbite on their
Women
face.
who are homeless really suffer. It's dangerous for a woman to be
Sure.
because
she
a
was
lot of them,
pregnant,
a lot of my clients who are homeless or females won't go to a shelter because they're raped.
Yeah, it's
Their
bad
stuff is stolen.
Right.
So a lot of them stay up at night. They'd rather be on the street and stay
Right.
awake because they're raped or they're assaulted.
They're
and
safer on the street than they are in the shelters. That's what
Absolutely.
they say. That's what
Yes.
they're saying, right? Which is
It's
really
sad.
pretty sad too. Because
Excuse me.
where is the like the accountability? Like who's accounted for that to make sure that
It's like
these
an
people are
underclass
yeah, 'cause
society
they
is
don't
not
care.
paying attention.
Right.
See, unfortunately at the court, we see everything. We see the homeless, the mentally ill, the addicts. When people come into the court, it's at the bottom of the barrel most of the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of us aren't equipped. I mean, I'm not a clinician. I studied political science in college.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But over the years,
Could you see the human?
I became a clinician just by
Yeah.
default, dealing with all these issues my whole career.
Right.
But no one wants to deal with this
And
population.
they don't.
And they're
But
just
yet it's a pick and
ostracized and they're
choose.
And we do, but you know,
But it's a pick
You
and
guys do,
choose,
which is a
but
but you know what
credit.
happens too, though? We have to watch out ourselves because we're women. And I'll turn around and, like, a few times I've gone down to Pine Street and I'll bring pizza and I will put it out and say, does anybody want to eat? And run back in the car and leave because I'm afraid because I'm by myself.
Yeah.
Right.
But, you know,
Right,
being
and I
a
know
But
that-
woman,
you know what, I have to say, Judy and Joe, you deserve a lot of credit because you're doing a lot of stuff that people don't even know about.
They don't even know because we don't
You're
tell
not getting any
anybody.
credit. You're
Right.
flying under the radar.
Right. We
You
don't tell
deserve
anybody.
credit.
We were
You're
actually,
treating people with
actually, we're
dignity.
going to Purdue, everyone. I just want to let you
yeah,
know
we
that.
are going to Purdue.
We went,
But we started out as a grassroots. We started out. We were the first overcoming addiction group to start, and to this day, we stay true to our mission.
As
we
a
stay-
former politician, you gotta get the politicians more involved too.
Yeah, no.
Hold their feet to the fire. Hold your senator, state
Yeah.
reps,
right.
your mayor, your alderman. I was an alderman. And we don't really deal with these issues, but you should.
Right, but
They
you
should
know
be dealing
something,
with these
we're
issues.
disrespected for our views for them, and you can only you can only walk into the lion's den so many times before you just don't even bother feeding them anymore.
But that's not good. That's defeated. You
Right,
cannot be
right,
defeated.
You gotta keep banging on that door. That door will open someday.
It will. It will. Actually, you know, you've seen us at a lot of public health meetings.
Yes.
You know, I think that's the first time
You're
you came
everywhere.
out.
Yeah, you guys are
Right.
everywhere.
He came out and gave me a hug, and he was telling me that he was a
But you
probation
do have
officer.
to
I had no
admit
idea
that
who
when
you were.
people see us coming, they're like, "Oh shit."
And I grew up in this city. I was
Right.
a city kid, you know what I'm saying?
Here they come. They're gonna say something about something because what they're doing is not right.
No.
And, and it's like no matter how you paint it, color it, fluff it, put polka dots on it, it does not matter. What you were doing is not right, but they're so deep into the departments that the department it just keeps piling. And I'm like, what are you doing? We're doing nothing.
It's a revolving door.
Yeah.
Well,
and-
actually, I did speak to them, and I said, you know what?
and we're
I s-
criticized. We're criticized for seeing that.
That means you're doing your job.
Right. If
Right.
they're happy with us, then we're not.
You're not
doing
hearing
s-
any
Right.
crickets.
No, I remember I do actually go and speak to people. And I've spoken to a few people in the school committee and said, you know what? Somerville's supposed to be leading the way, but we are doing only what's required by the state. We're not doing anything above and beyond that.
No.
And that's pretty sad.
And we're not even doing anything that's required by the state 5 years ago.
They're always worried
I
about
get like so crazy.
getting in trouble.
Crazy
Are
with
we doing
the
the right
stats.
thing? You know what? I would
Statistics,
rather have,
numbers.
Yeah, everything's evidence-based.
Everything
statistics.
is a number.
and I would rather have them make a mistake, and then try to,
Right.
and try to perfect it.
We had a meeting at the police station. They hired some guy to come in and do this whole big stat thing. And all he did was basically copy it from the Massachusetts state thing. I went on and I showed you. That was what he was using. They were the wrong stats. The woman from Cataldo ambulance, she was an ambulance driver. She was like, so she questioned him on secondary cause of death. First cause of death was a heart attack. So
Right.
he died of a heart attack. Yeah, but what gave him the heart attack? Oh, fentanyl? Oh.
Yeah, right.
They weren't writing that. So all of them people were not recorded as an overdose when it should be. They were using the fact that they suffered from a heart attack.
I got a lot of friends in the city that are firefighters, and they
And
tell
he
me
would
on the-
not go back and correct his stats. And I'm like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, they stand by the
You
numbers.
come, you have all of us sit here, and what are we supposed to? The minute I was like this, I could see Jesse going, ha 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 ha, go get him, Judy. I was like, what is wrong with you? That's wrong, that's not right, that's not right either. If you're gonna say it, tell us. You're gonna come into a room where you know that there's knowledgeable people about this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't sleep well. I read. So I read articles at night and stuff, and it just like stays up inside here until all of us, oh, that might burn a hole in my hand now.
All right, so now we only have 3 minutes left.
Oh my goodness.
All right, imagine that, 3 minutes.
Just
So
time
why-
flew.
Why don't
1
you?
minute, 1
You were
minute.
just talking about firefighters.
A lot of my friends are firefighters, and they tell me on the weekends they knock in anywhere from 5 to 10 people on the weekend.
Oh.
Now, that's fine, you bring them back, but there should also be an intervention where they should be given help, social work, clinician come in,
Yeah.
try to get them into treatment,
Right.
because that's, again, it's just a Band-Aid.
Mr. McWatters, we want to thank you so very much for coming on our show.
And you know
stuff.
you'll be back
I'll be
Everybody.
back.
Yeah, most definitely be
And I'll bring the
back.
judge.
Yes, that
Yeah.
would be very exciting. I'm
Can
excited
we put the
about
sign, here comes the judge?
Maybe we'll make her wear the robe.
Yeah.
No, actually,
we could wear stripes.
no way. No, I will tell you this, I really enjoyed going to the homeless court as well as the mental health court. So I really do want to explore the other
Yes. I'm
programs that are
extremely proud of
available.
you
Good.
guys. I mean, I'm like, seriously.
Cambridge is thinking out of the box, which other
Yes.
courts should be.
They really should be. Amazing. And he told me, that the gentleman told me that he started that. He actually proposed it, did it, and it worked. So he got people. Now he's got subdivisions of elderly. So I guess they must have a police officer that just does the elderly.
Yep.
And somebody was like, well, Somerville's got them too. I'm like, yeah.
Well, how many times have I asked, you're telling me that these programs are available, and I actually work in the recovery world.
we work
and
for the
yet-
city and we don't even know these things.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
we're nosy.
So
We're everywhere.
So when I said to him, where is the communication? You can go to Somerville Police Department or you can call 311 and you will not know about Somerville overcoming addiction. That's pretty sad because what if someone needed to talk
And
to
we've
someone?
asked them to add us. We've physically asked them.
I
At
did.
no cost.
And you call 311 and ask for Somerville.
Well, I'm going to do that because I did ask them to
You
do it
did
and find
ask
out.
them to do it. That's
See if it.
right.
I never tested it to see if.
So
they
now
do
I'm going
do
to have to
that.
go up there and say, did you not hear what Joanne said to you?
Well, guess what? The show is over. It's been over.